Hello everyone, I'm Joel Veena. Thanks very much for tuning into this video. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to convert an old guitar or new guitar or nearly any guitar into a modified Indian slide guitar. Now, why do this? Well, for one, Indian slide guitars are made in India. And so if you are not there, it can be a little bit difficult and costly to procure one. And the other reason is that it's fun and inspiring. And for guitar players, this may be a fun way to either, learn some Hindustani classical music, learn to play some ragas, learn some of the technique, and also to do something new and fun and interesting with the guitar. And the Indian slide guitar uses a different configuration of strings, a different playing technique, and in general, the guitar is set up in a different way, and so it can kind of stimulate our creativity to move us away from always thinking about, guitar like this. Instead, a little bit sliding on the lap. So the first thing that you should know is that this adaptation technique that I'm going to show you, it's going to give you a variety of results. This is not a guaranteed fix for an old instrument or a guaranteed way to get you a playable professional instrument, but it can yield some really interesting results and can be very successful and useful musically. Steel string guitars are going to be the best for doing this. Kind of the ideal guitar to convert would be like the original one that Pandit Brij Bhushan Kabra did, which of course was a Gibson Super 400. So a steel string archtop guitar, acoustic or electric, will be kind of your ideal starting place, especially with that floating bridge. Then after that, your just more typical acoustic guitars, dreadnought type of guitars, steel string guitars like this one that I have here. And you're going to have the most difficulty probably trying to do this with a nylon string instrument or a guitar with a classical style bridge. But you can try, who knows? You might get some great results. Kind of the star of the show here is this very small piece called a nut riser. And if we cut to the nut, I think you'll get a good sense on how this works. And so what this is you guys can see this is a little piece of bent steel that fits over the nut, and it's going to raise up the strings. So now let's get into it. So the first step is going to be to remove all the strings of the instrument. Use a string winder, get it on there. Just loosen it right up. On a lot of these older guitars, these little white pegs are stuck. On your string winder, there is a little piece, a little tool that you can use to pry that loose, and then comes out relatively easily. And they come flying out, and I would just stick them right back in the hole. And I'm going to coil this up and keep it on the side. Now I will proceed. All right, now we've got the strings off of our instrument, and we need to put the new strings on it. So if this is the time when if pieces fell off the guitar, we're going to try to put them back on it while we were taking it apart. In particular, you know, the saddle down here at the end might be something that falls off. This little fin here, mine is loose, but it's still attached. The pegs, and then also the nut. Like in our case, this little tiny guy just kind of fell off. It's not glued anymore, but it really doesn't matter. So we're just going to put on the pieces that fell off, and the very first thing we're going to start with is just placing the nut riser over the nut. And we're going to put this, you can see there's a longer side and a shorter side. And the idea is that this longer side goes pointed towards the tuners, and the shorter side, right, just overlaps the front of the nut, just like that, right? Yeah, yeah. And right now it's gonna slide all around. It's okay, it's fine. Just leave it. And we're gonna start putting on some strings. I like to start with this outside string, string number 1 first. And so we can check our guide, and I want to use a gauge 5, also known as a 14, or the second string, a B string of the guitar. And let's see, I've got that in my set here, so I'm going to pop open the set. Here's my 14. And so just like regular stringing of the guitar, we're going to start down here. First string, this is the 14. Feed it in. Sometimes it can be tough with these older guitars, so make sure that the string is going into the channel of the peg. And then we're going to come up here. I'm going to come from the left side here, because that's the way that we want it to roll up. And I'm going to pull through and leave a little bit of slack here to dip it under. Dip it under like that. And pull it tight. And I'll hold this a little bit over and use my string winder to give it a tighten. And I don't really care where it's going right now. I'm just going to try to keep my hands out of the way. There we go. Maybe your nut riser will just fall off like that. Don't worry about it. Just roll it up so you got some control over the thing. And get the nut riser back on. There we go. This first one is kind of dicey because everything is sliding around, and we're not going to tighten it all the way down, but just enough so that it's kind of contained and out of our way. You'll notice that without the other strings on it, it just wants to pull the nut riser right over, but that's fine for now. Let's move on to the next one. So second string, according to our guide, we're going to use an 18. This is the plain steel 18. So now we've got all the strings more or less on there, and I'm going to tighten these down. Again, I'm still not really tuning the instrument, but I'm going to get, see this nut riser still has a little bit of leeway. I want it centered, ideally, more or less. So that's about, if I let it go, oh, it's holding right now, but it wants to kind of be over here. See that? So I'm going to push it into place. You can see, you know, if you have a camera angle like mine, I can see really clearly that the strings are going straight or too far to one side, but you'll have to look with your eyes. So try to get that centered and then hold it in place with 2 fingers. And then give all the strings just a couple cranks. Not even a couple cranks, half a crank. Just to tighten it into that position. This string is really loose for some reason, so I'm tightening that one. The idea being kind of equal tension. Sorry, I'm blocking you. There we go. Equal. And then see how you did when you let go. Yay, it stayed in place. So great, we are there, we're modified. Now, these are messy, I know. Let's leave them alone until we tune the instrument. That's what I would recommend. If it's really bothering you how chaotic it is, or if you've got, you know, a pet or a small kid around who could stab themselves, just we'll make little loops. Just in the meantime. Let's tune up the instrument now. So, tuning of the Indian slide guitar is actually very simple. Much easier in a lot of ways than tuning a guitar. The Indian slide guitar is just a few notes. What we're doing, we're going to be tuning the first string as a D, the second one is A, third D again in the lower octave below that, fourth A again, octave below that. The fifth string is going to be that same D in the middle octave, and the sixth string, again, that same D. Now, I recommend that you could use a chromatic tuner for this, if that's helpful, something visual to see. You can also tune this using a tambura, or electronic tambura tuned to sa and pa, and that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you here. So, let's start the tambura. We'll start with sa. So the first is sa, D, 2, 9, 4. And the tuning, it's not going to hold, folks. So we're going to do a coarse tuning, and then we're going to come back through. So don't worry, just get it close, and then you're going to do another sweep through, and we're going to stretch out the strings. So there's sa. Here comes pa. Now we have to do it all over again because the strings are not going to stay like that. They need to be stretched out. They are fresh from the package, and they need not used to being under tension yet. And so what I like to do is actually push on the strings. I've tuned them all once, and now let's push close to the top, like that, and close to the bottom. And you can push, it can bend, nothing's gonna happen. If it does break, then you got a bad string or some issue anyway. So I'm gonna do this on each of them. I'm gonna push it at the top, push it at the bottom, give it a nice push, let it stretch out. Boing. All right, now they're going to be completely out again, so let's go back through. Here we go, sa, sa. All right, I think we got it, folks. Listen. So now we have converted the Indian slide guitar. We converted this old Ibanez guitar into an Indian slide guitar style. So allow me to demonstrate a little bit on this instrument, just very briefly for you. Now that it's done, the idea is how would you play this? Is I've got a thumb pick, metal thumb pick, you can use plastic too, and I've got two finger picks. So thumb, two finger picks, they're arranged this way. In my left hand, I'm using a steel slide bar. So here's my steel bar. Variety of types of steel bars. I can show you a close-up. So this is mine that I use. This is a long one. But you can use the short ones that are more commonly available as well. And essentially, this is how you play on it. So now you have a guitar that is set up as an Indian slide guitar. So you're going to be able to play Hindustani classical music, other styles of Indian music, or really any type of music that you feel like with this different string configuration. You know, some of the things that this type of configuration really lends itself to, of course, are lead melodies. You can understand that with this tuning, you're not going to be making a whole lot of chords. Of course, you can make a power chord by laying the bar flat across the strings, but that's not really the strength of this tuning. The strength of this tuning is the amount of expression and control that you have over the single strings while sliding. And with the action raised up off of the frets, you have a lot of expressive control without needing to worry about bumping into frets or anything. So have lots of fun with your Indian slide guitar, and thank you all so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, all those great things. I look forward to hearing how your conversion process goes. All the best.